good decisions. It said that the best kind of association is a peer who's a little more advanced than you. But of course, there's also the great association, Mahat Sebam Dwaramahur Vibhaktes, etc. Do you want to keep going on this, or do you want to do the class?
No. That was wonderful. We can move on. Just the theme that we've been discussing.
That we could go on for an hour easily on that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. I can't get it on my screen easily. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, just give me a quick minute.
I could. Yeah, I just my thing is database is a little sensitive sometimes.
You can keep going on that subject while I'm pulling up the verses.
All right. Well, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru. So while we're pulling up the verses, what we're going to talk about today is, in the beginning, is time, place, and circumstance, because it's mentioned in what we're going to be reading. And it's such an important concept, and it's connected. Because it was actually not too long ago that I gave a class here. I think it was just like a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. And we talked about the difference between principle and details. So when we're dealing with details, then we apply the principle of time, place, and circumstance, desha, kala, patra. So for the sake of time, let's just go to the English. That's okay. Sukadev Goswami said, when Kamsa was killed, O heroic descendant of Bharat, his two queens, Asti and Prapti, went to their father's house in great distress. Next. The sorrowful queens told their father, King Jarasandha of Magadha, all about how they had become widows. Hearing this odious news, O king, Jarasandha was filled with sorrow and anger, and he began the greatest possible endeavor to rid the earth of Yadavas. With a force of 23 Aukshahini divisions, he laid siege to the Yadu capital, Mathura, on all sides. And the numbers involved in an Aukshahini division are given in the word meanings, and Aukshahini was a standard fighting force in ancient times. And the last two verses. Although Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the original cause of this world, when he descended to the earth, he played the role of a human being. Thus, when he saw Jarasandha's assembled army surrounding his city like a great ocean, overflowing its shores, and when he saw how this army was striking fear into his subjects, the Lord considered what his suitable response could be according to, there it is, time, place, and specific purpose of his current incarnation. Purport. The Acharyas point out that the Supreme Godhead did not have to worry about a mortal attack from Jarasandha and his soldiers. But as stated here, Sri Krishna was playing the part of a human being, Karuna Manusyaha, and he played the part well. Yes, he did, didn't he? This play is called Leela, the Lord's enactment of spiritual pastimes. And this is an important sentence here. This is what I'm going to focus on to some extent later in the class. This play is called Leela, the Lord's enactment of spiritual pastimes for the pleasure of his devotees. That's why he does Leela, for the pleasure of his devotees. Although ordinary persons may be dumbfounded by the Lord's pastimes, the devotees derive tremendous pleasure from his inimitable style of behavior. Thus, Srila Sridhar Swami points out that Sri Krishna thought as follows, quote, how should I defeat Jarasandha? Should I kill the army, but not Jarasandha? Or should I kill Jarasandha and take away the army for myself? Or perhaps I should just kill both of them. Lord Krishna's conclusion is described in the following verses. You'll have to wait till tomorrow to hear that. Okay. So, first we'll talk about time, place, and circumstance. It's such an important concept for us, but it's not easy to apply, wisely. It takes because there's not one way to apply time, place, and circumstance. I may apply it one way. Ananda Bihari Prabhu may apply it a different way. It takes insight. It takes intelligence. It takes sensitivity. It takes practice. It takes trusting our instincts, and ultimately, it takes mercy. Right? It's not. It's. I mean, I was thinking of, there's hundreds probably of examples of Srila Prabhupada. I'm just thinking of a few. One time he was taking dinner at a well-to-do Indian man's house, and there was clearly onions in the sabji, and the devotees were saying, "Prabhupada, there's onions," and Prabhupada was like, "Shh, shh, just eat." But Prabhupada, there's not. He said. So he chose, according to time, place, and circumstance, to not upset his host by saying, "Oh, by the way, we don't eat onions," and what that person would feel. So, at another time, he might have said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't eat this." Kind of a well-known one of the servant hearing a sannyasi come in, pay obeisances to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "You're a sannyasi. You should just travel and preach. Don't stay in one center more than 3 days." "Yes, Srila Prabhupada." He leaves. Another sannyasi comes in 20 minutes later. "You're a sannyasi. I want you to stay in one place, become the temple president of such and such temple." So again, time, place, circumstance, and even we could say the candidate, the person, Prabhupada adjusted. When the devotees wrote a article or quoted an article, they wrote and quoted an article in BTG about Lord Chaitanya's difference of opinion with Vallabhacharya. And then so many of the big Vallabhacharya people were so upset even with Srila Prabhupada, and especially Srimati Morarji was upset with. And Prabhupada pacified her, but he also told the BTG editors, use more discretion in the future. So time, place, circumstance. One time, a lady devotee gave Prabhupada a bookmark that she had hand painted, and Prabhupada accepted it. And he said, "Actually, I'm a sannyasi. I should not accept gifts from women. But what can I do? This was offered with so much devotion." So again, time, place, and circumstance, he accepted. So and there's so many things like this, and like I said, we also have to be true to our nature, just like my nature is kind of to be a bit mellow, perhaps, and another is, so when a devotee might come with me a situation, I may just listen to them and work out it, and another person may just like get on their case and heavy them out, as we say. So our natures play a role in this, but we also have to be a little careful about that, because suggesting something or doing something that's not exactly in our nature may be the best in that particular time, place, and circumstance. So we also have to be willing sometimes to go out of our comfort zone, as it were, in order to do what is most favorable for that time, place, and circumstance. I mean, here we're on this call. Wouldn't you say the Bhakti Center has obviously tons of similarities with the Brooklyn Temple, but also there's differences. There's differences in somewhat in the outreach mechanism and some of the programming, etc. We, according to time, place, and circumstance, and the nature of the devotees in those centers, it's slightly different. Is one better than the other? We're not saying that. But according to the time, place, and circumstance, we may we may choose this way or that way. So it's a very, very important concept. And also knowing what is, based on our talk a few weeks ago, what is a principle and what is a detail? What can't be changed according to so-called time, place, and circumstance? And what can be? I did a little research on this, and let me see if I can just read it to you. So here, a few things. So about living in India. Now you husband and wife develop the Vrindavan scheme. Long ago you wanted to go to Vrindavan. This is a letter to Guru Das and Jamuna. So I think you are perfectly meant to remain there and look after the things, but live carefully. It is India. We must live according to the time, place, and circumstance. That is intelligence. On the whole, except with your husband, you should not mix with anyone very intimately, just like Indian ladies do. So they may have done a little differently, the temples in the West, but here in India, we have to be careful. It is important we preach the message of Krishna consciousness exactly as we have heard it from our spiritual master. But there are changes due to time, place, and circumstance, and the trainees. In the spirit of the cyclic succession the spirit of the cyclic succession may not be changed, but there may be adjustments to suit these special circumstances. But then here's the point about principles. The word satatam always must be understood to imply that devotional service is independent of time, place, and circumstance, adversity, and so on. So in other words, the principles of bhakti, they don't change according to time, place, and circumstance. And what are those principles? Everyone, regardless of race, caste, sex, or other material designations, can give up mental speculation, fruitive activities, and yoga practices and take complete shelter of Lord Krishna's lotus feet without deviation. So also knowing what is a principle we can change, what is not one, what we do adjust according to time, place, and circumstance, what we don't. It's an art. It's an art. So before we go on to Krishna applying time, place, and circumstance, let's see if you have any questions or comments. I can only see myself. So it's
No,
kind of,
we're all here, Prabhu. We're all here. It's a
I
very
can't
nice
see it.
elaboration on that principle.
You're
Yes.
falling asleep or, but
We're
do you have
taking
any
notes like anything.
questions, comments?
If you
Sometimes
swipe to the left on your phone, you should be able to see everyone, Prabhu.
I'm not on my phone, I'm on my computer, but anyway, I see someone in the Bhakti Center said, oops, it just disappeared. I'm just looking at the chat here. Sometimes going against our nature. Oh, are these just notes?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Nitai Chand, Prabhu, you were talking the other day how somebody went against what Krishna was telling them to do in regards to killing Ashwatthama, and they ended up not killing him and pleasing Krishna. And you use that as an example of how we're encouraged to be independent thinkers for Krishna, rather than blindly. I mean, I don't know how to frame it, but maybe you could say it here.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna said, kill Ashwatam. Bhima said, yes, kill him. Yudhishthira said, don't kill him. Draupadi said, don't kill him. And then Arjuna, and they all gave their own sastric reasons.
Right.
And Arjuna did not do what Krishna originally asked him to do, and Krishna was satisfied with Arjuna's actions.
There you go. So time, place, and circumstance. Yeah, that's a good example. We use that a lot in our conflict resolution with devotees. Yeah.
You shave people?
Pardon me?
I said, if you shave people, do during a conflict resolution.
Generally not.
Okay.
Are there any other points before we go on to the next topic?
Well,
Negotiable.
yeah. Well, my understanding, you can correct me, is that um, by discussion, they figured out how there should be some repercussion for his activity. And it should be maybe death or maybe something as good as death for a person of that stature, cutting off his top knot, right? It's not that there was no reaction. They were saying something must be done to indicate that this person acted inappropriately, and it should be severe, and it should be, something that he's not very happy about. So they did something that was like death, but not death. And Prabhupada was very interesting. He would always say, preaching is the essence, books are the basis, utility is the principle.
Right.
Like that one time, the devotees are given a sacred thread, a Brahmin thread, right? And one time Prabhupada was giving a lecture and the microphone was falling apart. He said, "Give me your thread." And the devotee,
Exactly.
you want me to take off my Brahmin thread? Take off your Brahmin thread and give it to me. Then he took the Brahmin thread and tied up the microphone with it, So utility is the principle. And just like that girl asked, should we cut Tulsi with a scissors or with a knife? And Prabhupada said, you should use common sense. And if you don't have any, find somebody who does. So the ability, like you said, the intelligence to discriminate about how to accomplish something, but simultaneously not, find out what is pleasing to Krishna. And it's possible, even though it seems like there's contradictory opinions about what to do, it's possible to figure out something that touches all the ingredients necessary for appropriate action, right? Just like cutting off the top knot was as good as death for an aristocratic and highly glorified person. Cutting his hair was like, so
Thank
it
you for
wasn't
that.
that they just disobeyed Krishna. They thought there was something better. They figured out, okay, there's this to consider, there's that to consider, and let's see what we can do. It's really interesting. Good subject. Over to Prabhupada.
Thank you. So let's go on to the time, place, and circumstance about Krishna, because that's what it was mentioned in the verse. It is so important for us in making advancement and in really developing a true relationship with Krishna. How do you like that for an introduction? It is so important for us to be fixed that Krishna's intention for all living entities, and especially his devotees, and especially for you, for us individually, is that he's Bhakta Vatsala. He acts for our benefit exclusively, always. How he acts and how we perceive it how we perceive it, that's up to us, but that is exclusively what he's doing. He's acting for our benefit. And that will be tested so many times. Sometimes something will happen in ISKCON and we think, how could Krishna have done this? Right? But we don't know the backstory. We don't know each other, people's karma. And of course, that doesn't mean we just say, oh, it was people's karma. No, of course, we try to fix whenever there's something that needs repair. But as far as the blue boy is concerned, as far as Krishna is concerned, he is always Bhakta Vatsala. He's always there, as we hear about the two birds in the tree and the super souls, always waiting for the other bird to turn to him. So that takes that we want to be totally fixed in that. And we see even in Krishna's pastimes when people question his morality, dancing with the gopis and whatever he does in Vrindavan that seems to break the so-called rules, his motivation is only to be pleasing to his devotees only. So last time we gave class, we talked about who did we talk about? We talked about Akura. This time, let's talk a little bit about Sudama in this regard. So one could look at Sudama and think, how? He's such a great devotee. He was such a fixed, he was shastric, he was so dedicated. His wife, it said, is equally dedicated, and they were so poor. We can't even imagine how poor they were. They were incredibly poor. Practically, Sudama didn't have clothes that he could wear. There was holes in them, and he was thin. What's the saying? Thin as a nail? Is that what we say? Just so, emaciated due to hunger. And his wife the same way. And it was stress. It was causing so much distress, and even more so for his wife than for him, because he was still doing his duties as a brahmana, but she couldn't do her duty of taking care of him because they were just that poor. So finally, as we know the story, she begged her husband to go see Krishna. And I don't know if you know this detail, the chipped rice that they didn't have any chipped rice in the house. She had to go to neighbors and beg some chipped rice. And she got that chipped rice and put it in this this little cloth container, that little piece of cloth that was also raggedy, and he carried that with him to go see Lord Krishna. And as a similar with Akura in some ways, Akura, as he was going to see Lord Krishna, and Sudama, as he was going to see Lord Krishna, they were both fixed on just what it will be like seeing Krishna. Although Akura, he was certain that Krishna would see him, and Sudama was thinking, how is Krishna going to want to see me? I won't be able to get past the gate looking like this. So as we know, as the story goes, Krishna greeted him with great, affection, and embraced him and put him on Rukmini's bed instead, and then worshipped his feet and washed his feet and sprinkled the water on his head. And then they had this great time discussing what it was like when they were in Sandipani Muni's ashram, and the challenges that they went through, especially that day when they were stuck overnight in the forest, getting lost after trying to collect wood at the request of Sandipani Muni's wife. And the way Sandipani Muni reacted the next day, he was so in so much anxiety and so pleased with his disciples when they finally reunited, and the loving exchange between guru and disciple was it's something that we could learn so much from. But what I want to do is fast forward a little bit. So when Sudama is leaving, he doesn't write. He doesn't mention to Krishna why he came. And we know that when Sudama returns to such incredible opulence, right? That just demigod, surpassing the demigods, the opulence of the house that Krishna arranged. And the maid servants all had lotus eyes, and then he saw his wife. And Krishna orchestrated everything so nicely. He even orchestrated this little tidbit. He orchestrated that at first he was still in his raggedy nature, his raggedy appearance. And then after his wife saw him, then he was transformed to even, opulence and stature, or physique, surpassing demigods. But even Krishna arranged that because his wife, being a chaste wife, if she had just seen him in his transformed state, she would say, "Who is this guy?" And she wouldn't, right? But she saw the transition before her eyes, and then, oh, this is my husband, right? So Krishna arranged this amazing thing. But what we want to focus on was Krishna's consciousness in this. So as we know the story, for most of us, we know the story. Sudama was very reluctant to give him. He just came to the house of the goddess of fortune. And by the way, that was very interesting. The goddess of fortune is fanning Sudama. Sudama's poor as anything, and the goddess of fortune, who didn't give him any fortune, is fanning him. But that's another thing. So, Krishna says, "What do you have for me?" No, no, no. And finally, he pretty much, forces it out of him, the chipped rice, and he eats a piece of it. And when there's a whole story of, okay, that's enough. The goddess of Rukmini says, but that's not the point I want to focus on here. Sudama didn't have anything, and he even had to. His wife had to beg for this. So they gave Krishna. He gave Krishna everything he had, even things that he didn't have. And so Krishna was so pleased, he gave me everything. And Krishna was feeling so embarrassed. He gave me everything, and I have all the opulence in the world, and I just gave him, this little stinking celestial house with all these maidservants, and he was that's why he didn't mention, as Sudama was leaving, the changes that he's going to see, because Krishna literally, not figuratively, he literally felt embarrassed that he wasn't able to reciprocate with his devotee. As his devotee gave everything, and Krishna gave him, ekam stena stito jagat, a spark of his splendor. And of course, we know this is also there in Krishna's relationship with the gopis, that Napariyam, I can't repay you, like that. But this is Krishna. He is always Bhaktavatsal. And we can, and Sudama just focused on his pure love, his pure bhakti. And if we can do that and just give up our petty this and petty that, we'll feel this reciprocation. Because it's one thing to hear about it, it's one thing to study it, it's another thing to take that dive into it. And Krishna is always there. He's always there in his holy name. But our mind, the thing that's stopping us is, how many times, unless you're totally different than me, do I just think, okay, I have 8 more rounds left, I have 5 more rounds left, I have 3 more rounds. Now I'm just counting, and I'm because it's still about me. How many rounds do I have left? Instead of just trying to offer some love to Krishna. The mind is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Because in the spiritual world, everything is focused on Krishna. Everyone's focused on Krishna. And subtly or not so subtly, we often are focused on ourselves. But if, for example, in our japa, Krishna is always there. And if we could really get absorbed in Krishna's name, it takes pushing the mind aside, because the mind's going to rebel and rebel and rebel. We say, no, just, my dear mind, please let me just get absorbed so I can experience Krishna. And we do that, and we feel that reciprocation when we can just set aside the mind for that short time that we're chanting and really try to get absorbed. And similarly, all of our other activities in bhakti, trying to get beyond the mind and absorbed, and then feel Krishna's reciprocation. Then we become more convinced that this is the time, place, and circumstance that Krishna adjusts. He adjusts things out of love for us, out of love for his devotees. That's Krishna. One time Prabhupada, rang the bell, and I can't remember, I think this was Japan, but I'm not sure. Trivakar Maharaj and Burijan Prabhu went into the room. And Trivakar Maharaj was telling Prabhupada about this, these tracts, these little, I don't know if they make them anymore because everything's online, but little small booklets that Christians would give out. And they had one about the Hare Krishnas, and don't join the different cults, but stick with Jesus. And Trivakar Maharaj was saying that his brother had sent this to him. And Prabhupada, the reason Prabhupada kind of got to the reason he called him in the room. He said, anyway, they can say so many things. And then he's looking at this picture, and then he turns it around. It's a picture of Rukmini Dwarkadish from LA. He said, but anyway, our God is the nicest God. So this is Krishna. And we need to hear about him. You know, the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's just full of example after example of Krishna reciprocating with his devotees. And if we can, you know, practice our sadhana in a way that Krishna will reciprocate with us, then we'll feel that, and we make rapid advancement. There's Chesta Rupa and Bhava Rupa. Chesta Rupa is doing the activities of devotional service, and Bhava Rupa is doing it with bhav, doing it with a heart. Where my wife grew up in an Irish family in Ireland, and her Catholic mom used to say, offer it up whenever they had to like clean a room. We said, offer it up, do it with a heart and a half. So if we can do our bhakti with a heart and a half, and even when it's not Swarup Siddhi Bhakti, chanting, taking prasadam, reading the Bhagavatam, even if we're at work and trying to find some way of connecting that our activities in our day to Krishna, and still trying to have some bhava for him. That's what we got to do, folks. We can't just, you know, stay fighting our minds and just shnick shnick itty itty ray ray year after year. We have to really, you know, pedal to the metal a little bit. What did Jiva G tell me? I guess this is a recovery group thing. You know, God can move mountains, but we have to bring our shovel. So we have to do our part. And our part is not like gritting our teeth and performing more austere. No, our part is just doing our devotional activities with some love, with some bhav. Then it's all good. Okay, so we have some time for questions, comments.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu. One devotee had a dream that they had gone back to Godhead. And then, but when they saw Krishna, the Krishna didn't look quite the way Krishna should look. It was the same color theme, maybe some peacock, but it was all disfigured and all weird. And he said, who are you? Where am I? And this thing said, I am Shnika. You are chanting my name, Shnik, Shnak, Shnik, Shnak. So here I am.
Is this a question from Nityananda Chandra Prabhu? And how can I give more than I have, like Sudama? Well,
There's two questions in the chat, actually. There's one from Narottama Nitai Das Prabhu, and it says, is also the position of Bhishma Pita on the opposite side of the Pandavas. Is this also an example of satatam during time, place, and circumstance?
which example is it that he's talking about with Bhishma and Krishna? Or Narottama Prabhu, maybe you could. I'm not sure which example he
yes. Prabhuji, I was just in the sense that Krishna Pita is on the opposite side of the Pandavas. I was wondering.
Oh, being on the opposite side. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what your question is being on the opposite side bhakti?
Yes, in the sense like if despite him being on the opposite side, he's still devoted to Krishna wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know better than me, right? What was Krishna accepting the arrows that were sent to him like?
I think flowers. What?
Yeah. So yes, that was his. So Krishna, and isn't that actually a beautiful example that, you know, we have our natures and our, you know, we're this or that, and Krishna will reciprocate according to at least as he wishes, but often according to, you know, he reciprocates with how we approach him. Yayatamam prapadyante. As you approach, Krishna reciprocates. So yeah, he was beautifully reciprocating with Bhishma according to Bhishma's way of offering his affection.
Thank you. Wonderful example. Wonderful question.
We actually have one more question from the chat. Sorry, before Madan Gopal Das Prabhu. It's from Gautam Ghosh Prabhu, and it says, "What is the purpose of our life? Explain spiritually, please."
What is the purpose of our life? I'd like to ask all of you that question. You know, that's the question we could be asking ourselves every day. When we do retreats here at Govardhan, we sometimes ask devotees to sit quietly in front of Giriraj. And one question I like to ask them is, what do you want in your life? And then about a minute later, I say, what do you really want? Because it's easy to say, oh, prema pumarta mohan, no problem. You know, we have no experience of prema, we don't know what it is, you know, this happens. So, but if put in nice English words, the goal of our life is to offer our affection and love to Krishna and to his devotees. I hope that's okay, Mr. Ghosh. But now we have Gurudev, Madan Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Pranam. Thank you. I just wanted to appreciate this point you made, which is very sweet about Krishna and Sudama. Krishna was actually so embarrassed that all he could give Sudama was this measly little palace. Even if he gave Sudama a whole universe, it'll be so measly compared to what Sudama gave him, which is 110%. Whereas Krishna is only giving him 0.001%. So percentage-wise, it's like nothing. You know, it's not even a reciprocation. But it's interesting. You know, Brahma's prayer reminded me of a nice prayer from Lord Brahma, where he is telling Krishna that you gave yourself to Putana just because she pretended to be devotee. And now that you've given yourself completely to Putana, you have nothing left to give these gopis and these gopas and everybody else. So you're bankrupt. You've bankrupted yourself, giving yourself to someone who wasn't even a real devotee, but who just wore the disguise of a devotee. And it just shows how much giving he is of himself. What to speak of, you know, what he would do if we were genuinely sincere. So it is so much hope. The Bhakta Vatsalata is such a hope-giving element of Krishna. So yeah, he's definitely the best God.
And forgiving. I was just thinking of this because maybe some of you know Yadunandan Swami. He had 20 devotees from Spain with him. So we went on Govardhan Parikrama the other day. And I always make it a point to stop at Surabi Kund. And because Surabi Kund is so significant, you know, Indra was really in big trouble. I mean, big trouble. You know, he tried to kill not just Krishna, but all of Krishna's most beloved. He tried to kill all the Brijbasis. I mean, that's a maha aparad. And, you know, he went to Lord Brahma, Indra went to Lord Brahma and said, what should I do? And Lord, because, you know, you got Krishna's forgiveness for the mistake you made. And Brahma said, well, what I did was nothing compared to what you did, Baba. You know, much worse. He said, but if you bring you know, Krishna is, here, Gopal, Madan Gopal. Krishna is, you know, he loves the cows. So you have a Surabi cow in your kingdom in heaven. So bring a Surabi cow with you, and that'll melt Krishna's heart. So anyway, at Surabi Kund is where Krishna forgave Indra for this great offense. And it's such an important place, I think, because I have to go there almost every day, I think, because I commit so many offenses, and I have to get free from that, you know, but that Krishna is so kind that even Indra, he forgave, even though he did. So that, like you said, Madan Gopal, the nicest God. Yes, well, our electricity goes off and on here. Were there any other questions or comments in the chat? Oh, there's comments, but
Hare Krishna, can you hear me okay?
yes.
Yes? Yeah, a wonderful question somebody asked a few minutes ago. How can you give more than you got? And of course, we saw how Sudama's wife did that. She went and she engaged somebody else in devotional service by asking them to give her a donation of chipped rice. So, and Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, no one is more dear to me than one who preaches this message to someone else. So if we're able to give everything we've got, but also to inspire, request, encourage, convince someone else to engage in devotional service, then we're giving more than we've got, and Krishna's very pleased. Yeah, really good question.
That's a nice way to look at it. Another way to look at it, additionally, is you can't give what you ain't got. The example, we all know it's cliche, but the example of, putting on the mask first on the airplane before putting it on your child. And I was reminiscent of a letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to Rameshwar Prabhu. It's a famous letter. It's a very long letter, and it talks all about preaching and preaching and preaching. And then the very last sentence is, and the highest realization is to save yourself. So, one sense, we can give what we ain't got because we can give somebody a book, and even if we're in total Maya, if we give them one of Srila Prabhupada's books, but on the other hand, it's so important that we also go deeply in our own bhakti, and to the extent that we do that, then Krishna we become more empowered to give Krishna consciousness to others. So it's a balance. So thank you for that, Adi Pushpa. Is this a different question from Narottama Nitya Prabhu? I have heard in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells us to read, chant, and return back to God. However, since devotees know Krishna's heart, the devotees make extra effort to bring more people. I think I just kind of explained that. But it has to be it should be deep. One devotee, it was actually Bhurijan Prabhu, said, Prabhupada, you're very young devotee at the time. I don't want to go back to Godhead. I just want to serve you life after life. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, do not make me come back to save you. So he could see through the kind of innocent but not very deep sentiment in that case. Okay, well, I think our time is up for the day. Everyone's always happy when you end a minute or two early.
No, we'll keep going until the darshan comes. And if you need to go, Vraj Vihari Prabhu, no problem.
I don't need to go. I'm here at Govardhan. I'm not going anywhere.
There's one story. You all know this picture of Radhanath Maharaj with President Obama. And when Maharaj was driving to get on the plane to go to that meeting, Ganesham Prabhu, my dear friend, was driving him, and they got lost. And the GPS in those days, where the GPS was telling Ganesham to make a right turn, and then so they stopped and asked the person, so where should we turn, right or left? And before that, they were lost already, and Maharaj was telling Ganesham, speed, because he had to get on that plane, because you have to get cleared through the security and everything. And if you miss your flight, it's over. Making it to that meeting with Obama, the president. And Ganesham said, so where should I go, Maharaj? Your guru is right there. You're supposed to do what your guru tells you to do. And so what should I turn, left or right? And Maharaj told him, you better make the right choice. Whether you turn left or right, make sure it's the right way so I can make it to the flight. So sometimes the guru's instruction may come like that. It's not like it may not be direct, right? Vraj Vihari, can you validate that story? The lesson that comes from it.
I wasn't there, but I accept. Our best. And now our time is up. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari, for a wonderful class. Time, place, and circumstances. Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, cameras on if you can, please. Nice seeing everybody.
shake the camera.
Jai, Hare Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Muladhara Ki Jai, Shri Guru Chandra Ki Jai. Our Krishna is the coolest, the most beautiful God by a long shot. Hare Krishna. Any final thoughts? Madan Gopal Prabhu, please instruct us. Please, we'd like to acknowledge you in this class.
Hey Krishna, thank you for having me. I saw my name on the website for today's assignment for some reason.
Oh,
And
Hare Krishna.
Vanish actually brought that up to me, and I was startled. Wait a minute, I think it's somebody else today. But it was nice. So because of that, I got to hear Vraj Vihari Prabhu's wonderful time, place, circumstances, lecture. And like you mentioned, it's not an easy thing to do. When to apply an adjustment and what is considered a principle, So, but he said it comes with experience, with devotion, and ultimately with the mercy. That if we just pray to the Lord for mercy, the prayer, the serenity prayer, give me the strength to change the things that I can, courage to accept the things that I cannot, and wisdom to know the difference. But that wisdom is not going to come from me. We are praying to the Lord, my Lord, give me the wisdom to know the difference between what I should be changing or what I should be doing and when I should not be doing something. So I guess that's in summary, an aspect of time, place, circumstance, when to apply it and how, and ultimately lean as closely as possible to the Lord. And the challenge, I would say, is how do we know that what we're doing is sanctioned by the Lord, or like the adjustment that we're making, And Krishna gives a clue in the Bhagavad Gita itself. He says that one who has reached tranquility has already achieved the super soul, which means he's close. His you can say vibe or frequency is so close to the Lord because having understood the Lord by studying and devotion and all that, and by bringing peace to the mind, so you're not hearing the chatter, then you can listen to that gentle voice of the Lord, and that is more reliable. But ultimately, we have to judge our own level of peace to see are we in sync with the Lord. So it's definitely an interesting topic. It can go on very deep. Thank you for having this circle. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madan Gopal Prabhu. Yes, so to sum it up, keep calm and chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We love you all. Hare Krishna. Bhima Prabhu. As soon as chanting stops, chewing starts, right? Are you chewing or chanting? All right. I'm not gonna bother him. He's taking prasadam. That's an intimate process. Karen, how was the festival? Did you have to fight for a sitting spot? Yeah.
There it is. I couldn't find the button. Yeah, it was great. It was amazing. I came back with no voice and a bit of a cough. But how was Radhadesh? Good. Did you have fun? Yeah, he did. And yeah, it was like we just had to sit on top of each other, and that was kind of the way it was. when we could actually get in the room, that is.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. It was so good to be in the association. It was like being back in New York.
Are you back? Are you here in New York?
No, I'm in Switzerland, but it was like I was longing for those kirtaniyas that from New York that I used to see all the time. Yeah. So it was really nice. But Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Karen. Hare Krishna to you. Okay. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. Okay. Bhima Prabhu, are you here in New York? His head is preventing him from hearing what we're saying. No?
I am sorry, Prabhu. I couldn't, my phone doesn't work too well. Yes, time, place, and circumstance. I'm in New York. It's early in the morning, and the circumstances, I want to go home. So even the farm will do. No, we'll see you today, Prabhu. Are you working?
Yeah, now that
All
I
right.
know you're coming, I'm coming. Yeah, I'm going there.
All right.
The
All
door.
right. Well, we'll share some time, place, and circumstances.
Yeah, being with the devotees is the best time, place.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I have. When I come down here, I just want to get out of here. There's just too much cement and too many people who I don't know. But when I see the devotees, my heart it's just like when the sun breaks through the clouds. All of a sudden, there's this ray of warmth. And that's what I get when I see the devotees. I swear to Krishna, that's how it feels. So can't wait to see you, Prabhu, with your big sunny face.
All right. I'll bring my sunny face over. All right. Hare Krishna.